Sega is mostly known for their video games and their consoles, as well as TV shows based on their video games. However, they also had a TV show about their consoles. And no, this isn't a documentary series, but a series that anthropomorphizes their consoles. Let me introduce you to the Sega Hard Girls. First, how the concept as a whole came to exist. The Sega Hard Girls is a multimedia project that spawned from a collaboration between Sega and ASCII Media Works' Dengeki Bunko. And before you get any ideas, the hard in Sega Hard Girls is short for hardware, as in consoles. The Sega Hard Girls are various Sega consoles as human girls, each with traits based on their real-world counterpart. For example, Game Gear gets tired very quickly, to the point of saying, "I'm tired," and then going home to watch TV, much like how the Game Gear handheld is infamous for quickly draining its 6AA batteries, as well as its ability to connect to the TV via the TV tuner. And Sega Mark III's rabbit ears reference Professor Asobi, Sega's very first mascot even before Alex Kidd. And Dreamcast can connect to the internet, but only does so during toll-free hours due to how poor she is. The Dreamcast console had a built-in modem to connect to the internet, which was a pretty big deal at the time. Not to mention the Dreamcast didn't really sell all that well. It's also worth noting that there's both a Mega Drive and a Genesis, or a Jenny as she prefers to be called. They're both entirely separate characters with their own design and personalities. High School Seiha Girls, or simply Seiha Girls, is an 11-minute 13-episode anime series produced by TMS Entertainment. TMS being a subsidiary of Sega and the same company that worked on Dr. Stone, the 2019 Fruits Basket, and Sonic X. They also worked with Deke for Inspector Gadget, The Real Ghostbusters, and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. The series was animated in Miku Miku Dance, or MMD, a 3D animation software, and aired on Animax, Tokyo MX, and Toshigi TV on October 28, 2014 to December 24th of the same year. The series takes place in Haneda, Tokyo, where the headquarters of Sega was located at the time. Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, and Mega Drive are new students at Sega Academy. Their teacher is named Center Sensei, who tasks the girls with collecting medals, which are gained from completing assignments within the various worlds of Sega. When they gain 100 medals, they can graduate. Assignments range from clearing 100 matches in Virtua Fighter to racing across Tokyo Toe in Jet Set Radio, and helping Ulala increase her news channel's ratings in Space Channel 5. The number of medals each girl can acquire can vary for a variety of reasons. As stated before, the series was animated in MMD, which is a 3D animation software similar to Blender and Source Filmmaker. While at the school, the girls are in a more chibi style, where they mostly just talk in between assignments. But when pulled into a game, they're given more realistic proportions, with the first episode even giving them a magical girl style transformation sequence, which is heavily cut down in future episodes. The characters basically remain in those two styles throughout the entire show. Of course, the various Sega worlds are copies of the original source games, such as the aforementioned Virtua Fighter, also Space Harrier, and the arcade game Border Break. The series is rather brief, spanning about 13 episodes as mentioned previously, with 2 episodes usually going to the aforementioned assignment in one of the Sega games, with some exceptions, such as a culture festival taking place entirely in the school, or one episode all about creating new games with Puyo Puyos involved. And just like what I said earlier, characters have personality quirks referencing their respective consoles, though there are some shown here that don't show up anywhere else, such as Mega Drive being clumsy and awkward with physical movements, most likely because the Mega Drive is an older and thus slower console compared to the Saturn and Dreamcast. This even shows up in the outro. And Saturn is very confident in herself, only for the universe to end up making her fall on her face, turning her into the butt of the joke for the series, now that she lets it keep her down. This may refer to how the Sega Saturn was a promising console that did very well in Japan, but did poorly outside of its native country. She also has a thing for older men, no doubt a reference to Segata, Sanshiro, Segata, Sanshiro, Segata, Shiro. and Dreamcast tend to get a bit of preferential treatment, being rewarded for minor things that seem unearned. This may be because the Dreamcast was Sega's last console, which is why she gets special treatment. The entire series is one huge love letter to Sega's past, even down to the references within the school. In fact, Senju Sensei is basically Asobi, and he's voiced by none other than Yuji Naka. There are so many references that the ending theme is Wakai Chikara, or Youthful Power, which is the company anthem of Sega itself, modified slightly to include the Sega consoles. And if you're expecting Sonic, he only shows up for about one episode that doesn't say anything, with the girls keeping a majority of the focus. I also want to mention that after the original 13 episodes aired, there was an OVA release for the box set, which features Mark III, Robo Pitcher, Mega Drive's younger sister Mega Drive 2, and Brazil's supreme waifu, Master System. Now, the Sega Hard Girls would eventually get a crossover spin-off game with the Hyperdimension Neptune series, another series that anthropomorphizes video games, the game itself being titled Superdimension Neptune vs. Sega Hard Girls, which was initially released for the PlayStation Vita before being ported to Steam. Unfortunately, the anime and crossover game were the only things relating to the SHG franchise that made it to the West, and the crossover game is the only time the girls are given an English voice. There was also a light novel series and an anthology manga, but they were only released in Japan. If you want the anime for yourself, the Blu-ray is available on the Amazon website, but it doesn't include the OVA. Next month will be Valentine's Day, a day of love. Not just romantic love, but platonic love, or even the love between family members. I got a game about the love between two people in store for you. Whether it's romantic or platonic, I'll leave up to you. I'll see you then.
Yopcha's here! Yopcha's